What are some non-obvious, early signs that a relationship is coming to an end? Just hanging out becomes a chore more than pleasure. Reading this thread has confirmed many times over that my almost 8-year relationship is definitely over. Reckon it has been for many years now. It's time, friend. You're right. She didn't even make any real effort for Christmas. I bought her a brand new box set of Harry Potter books I knew she'd love. I got a selection box that was obviously cheap and tells me I'm just an afterthought. A convenience. She even bought presents for people I don't even know. I'm definitely done. Just need to find somewhere to go and live. When you are companion, someone to keep them from feeling alone while they go about their life. Even fights are one-sided. The other person just stops trying to resolve the issues. Argue the issue, not the person. If the source of your argument goes past you and into the person you're arguing with, it's hard to reconcile a relationship worth saving. This is a good one, but I'm the exception to the rule. I'm in a relationship that came back from this. My wife and I used to argue, and I would always lose. That is, either she would get angry enough that I gave in, or she'd start crying and that means I'll lose by default. I stopped caring. She'd tell me what to do and I'd either blow it off or even agree, then do whatever I was going to do in the first place anyway. We worked it out. I showed her that she was being emotionally manipulative, and I would call her out on it when it happened. She learned that it's possible to disagree with someone and still let them have their way, because compromise is essential in relationships. We're a lot happier now. Of everything in this thread, your situation with your wife is the most analogous to my relationship with my ex-girlfriend. Neither of us had been in a long-term relationship prior to each other, so I would definitely place the blame on inexperience rather than deliberate malice. But it became increasingly clear that we couldn't resolve even minor conflicts in a way that was healthy or productive. As things wound down, I would often find myself capitulating and telling her whatever she wanted to hear just to end the arguments. Especially in retrospect, our inabilities to move past those strategies made it apparent that things wouldn't work out. Regardless, it's cool to hear that y'all were able to improve your communication skills and move past those issues. Cheers. When your so seems totally disinterested in talking to you, you try to start a conversation and they just give you one word, one sentence answers. This only counts if it's only ever one word, sentence answers and they never respond with more, or bring up what you were saying later on. I will talk to my boyfriend and read AskReddit threads while laying in bed, and he'll respond with one word answers or maybe a laugh, but he has brought them up later, sometimes weeks later, which showed me he was listening intently, even if he didn't have anything to say. When my boyfriend goes on about something and I don't expressly have anything to say about it, I look uninterested, but I'm just listening intently. He has a tendency to wax on and on about certain things that interest him or that he cares about, and I just honestly like to hear him talk, especially about stuff that makes him happy. I don't like interjecting too much besides maybe a one-sentence question or something like that to stoke the figurative fire and keep him going. I learn a lot, too, but those conversations tend to seem very one-sided. Thankfully we've been dating for 8 years now and he's used to it, but I'm going to ask him when he's awake whether or not he knows I'm just listening when he talks like that and I'm not just tolerating his rambling. When you don't see each other for a few days, and you're not excited to get back together. It's been 11 days since I saw my boyfriend, 19 days to go before I can see him. I really miss him and everything I do brings up thoughts of, wow, he would really enjoy this or I wish he were here to experience this with me. Thank God for texting, but it's not the same. When their quirks that you used to find endearing now make you want to commit violence. That can be pretty normal if you didn't pay attention at that start. Our marriage celebrant had us do all sorts of communication tools, and one of them was cute things that were guaranteed to grate later. It was really interesting. And after 20 years, pretty much spot on. Knowing this, it makes them much less of a deal breaker. When you're spending time with them and you'd rather be anywhere else. When conversations with them become dry and boring, that's a big one too. Me and my girlfriend can text for it, but in person, holy it, we could talk for weeks. Mostly her though. I listen, give my input and listen more, and she loves to ramble and just talk about anything when we go on long car rides, smiley face. I was beginning to think I had the only relationship like this. Terrible at texting, much better with in-person communication. Thumbs up. Side note. The lack of emotion and inflection in texting gives me anxiety, lol. When she no longer bothers to get upset or angry with you, it shows they have checked out and think of you as a stranger. Is it a problem if you don't ever argue in the first place? I've never been in a relationship very long, but my current and I have never disagreed about anything more serious than movie reviews. That feels like it's not normal, but maybe it's a good thing. When it starts to feel like a bottomless pit, no matter how much effort you put into it, things don't improve and you get less and less back every day. Alternatively, when you realize that you can't problem solve for it when the two of you are together, even simple tasks that require nothing more than open communication. Relationships require work, but they also need to be functional. If basic incompatibility keeps the two of you from working together as a partnership, it's freaking doomed. I asked a friend for some advice when I felt like my past relationship was rocky. I just wasn't sure if it was worth ending. She asked me, would you two be friends if you weren't in a relationship? Nope. Nothing in common anymore. I ended it. You don't want to see them anymore. I thought I was just tired from starting a new job and anxious about upcoming changes in my life. Nah, turns out I just didn't want to see him anymore. It felt like going to work. I spend 9 hours a day bugging guys about making phone calls and filling out paperwork, and then I realized I'd just go straight to his house and bug him about doing homework and calling the vet for his dog. Courtney? Yes? When you feel like you have to make excuses about your to others. Why they do what they do. Why they said what they said, etc. More like, when you stop making those excuses. When you take a trip together and argue the whole time. One of the reasons I knew I needed to marry my wife. We could go anywhere together. I asked a friend of my boyfriend's if he and his girlfriend wanted to go on a trip with us. First thing out of his mouth was, I don't think I could be in a car that long with her. If that is harsh. To be fair, some people suck ass to ride in a car with. You feel strongly about something, but you don't want to talk about it, because you know it'll just become an argument that won't be resolved satisfactorily. Or you just don't care. Either their opinion or just not wanting to share anymore. The brief, terrifying, numbing thought of, is this going to be the rest of my life? This one hit home. Knowing that your is physically in the room with you, but feeling that mentally, they are very far away from you. I thought sleeping alone was lonely until a night when my ex was upset and wouldn't touch me. That was the loneliest I have ever felt. Not exactly in bed, but whenever somebody you love shrugs away from even a basic touch. That it hurts. Yes, freaking ouch. After my last relationship ended, I had to move out of our shared home and was living hours away. I made 2 trips back to get some of my things. At the end of the first one, my ex hugged me before I left, and it was reassuring in that it felt like, while it was over, we would always share a sort of love. The second time, when I went to hug her goodbye, she cringed away from me faster than I ever saw her move in 5 years. Even thinking about it now, months later, it feels kinda like a punch in the guts. If marriage, here was mine. She didn't want to put her name on the house we were about to buy. She still gave me money to help me get it, but she wouldn't put her name on the mortgage. I forget the reason, but it went in one ear and out the other. It should have been a red flag, but I was naive. We were divorced 1 year later. She didn't want that house with me, because she was already thinking about leaving me. That's actually pretty nice of her, unless you can't afford it on your own. Logistically it would be easier, but emotionally it's a really itty move. Will they want to stay in the house they envisioned living into old age with their spouse in? If not, now they have to sell after only owning it for a year or so, which is a bad position to be in as a seller. Not to mention the stress of selling a freaking house on top of going through a divorce. Also, The home a married person needs and a single person needs are not the same thing. They probably made compromises in the house selection they wouldn't have otherwise. A friend asked me, what's he like about a month into the relationship? I couldn't answer. It ended in flames. Lesson learned. I'm bad at this question in general. I lock up when people ask me to describe other people. When you get the urge to ask people about symptoms of a failing relationship, by this point it's already too late. Well, that freaking sucks. Might as well get some karma out of it. My girlfriend broke up with me yesterday. Gang, am I right, folks? Being with them feels like an obligation. Their quirks drive you away from them subconsciously. You're only trying for the sake of keeping up a social veil of perfection. Or when you're asking this question on Reddit, their quirks drive you away from them subconsciously. This will happen in any relationship that lasts long enough. If you're serious about being committed to your partner, then you need to be able to work through the inevitable time that their quirks and eccentricities drive you insane. That's a choice you have to make, and not just once, but over and over again. Love is not fuzzy feelings, and your partner annoying you is not a sign that the relationship is ruined. All that matters is your response when you recognize what's happening.